Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, at this point, we move to an open forum. And we would like to give district residents a chance to comment or ask any questions about this agenda. Any information regarding personnel cannot be discussed in a public meeting. And we ask that you keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. So, don't all speak at once. All right. We have a number of agenda changes. And I guess this is where we have a fair number of the walk-ons, right?
Yes, that whole list.
Okay.
Would you like me to read them off? Or do you just want to approve them all at once, because they're written?
Well, I think we can just approve it. One fell swoop, right? Okay, a motion, please? Second? Okay, any questions or comments?
We're just moving to accept these into our agenda?
Correct. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
There would be full not.
Okay. Moving on to presentations. And this is the social studies curriculum, correct?
Yep. All right, I guess I'm going first. All right, so we're super duper happy that we have completed the matrix K4. I'm not as much sure about the 5-6 because it had been humanities, and so it's kind of changed. And now it's kind of gone back, so it's a little bit of a gray area. I'm really happy to say that this year we do have a 6. So we have someone from the 5-6. We have Andrew Burton who's come down because they've kind of, I think, switched out of the humanities, like help me out if I'm wrong, back into their being. It's still humanities, but more of like a structured social studies class. So I'm hoping to see more team involvement. Yes.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't.
What is it you, yeah, what is the I feel like I should be Keanu Reeves or
So the
something.
matrix, which is super cool, so we have, it's a super cool thing that makes it so that at any point, if any teacher were to come and be hired or to move to a different grade level, that you have kind of a month-to-month plan with a unit, like with what that unit of study is, and then what the outcome goals are, and then what the assessment would look like. So month to month by each grade level. We were really lucky, Mr. McGuire got to work with us one day on our matrix last year, and he kind of saw how that worked, like kind of having driving questions, what's the ultimate goal, and having basically a footprint for what that looks, for what social studies looks like at 2nd grade. So Angie was very nice and gave me some time this year at one of our superintendent's day where we went back and we looked at our matrix and we said, what doesn't fit in regards to our standards? And that was kind of really hard because there are a lot of different programs that we've taken on, like listening and learning and SkillStrand and all these sorts of things, but then we went back and looked at them with the standard, sorry about my hands, they didn't quite line up the way we wanted to. So we had to start and look at what lined up and what didn't line up. So like I can speak to 2nd grade. We did not have enough on like economics. Because it didn't, but that was a strong standard, like wants and needs. So we realized, okay, we're doing early Asian civilizations, we're doing early Greek civilizations, then we're also doing Greek myths. What needs to go so that we do economics? And so the time that she gave me, my goal to my team was to say, we gotta let this go to put this back in. Another one at 2nd grade was mapping. Right now we're doing the we're doing all sorts of wars. But how can we incorporate more mapping into those wars so that we're still doing the skill strand, but also not just kind of surface level hitting social studies. So we spent time doing that, and I hope that next year, which this is me being crazy town, which you're going to hear a lot of tonight, I'm hoping that next year we can then look at that vertically. That we can, instead of just looking at what our grade level and our standards were missing, vertically, K4, K6, where are those gaps? Because if we all kind of decide we're all missing mapping or we're all missing economics, okay, we've got to figure out who's going to take that on and take something else out, or who's doing that really well and maybe can do it a little bit better in another grade level, can, I don't want to say take a pass at it, but really do it, in depth, not just surface level. So the other thing that I found when we looked at the matrix and I looked at the feedback that I got from the forms they filled out, I feel like second grade included, K2, our lower levels, our assessments in regards to what we're doing to social studies aren't where they need to be, but I don't think we can worry about assessments until we're sure that we're aligned with the standards. Because otherwise, what are we assessing? So that would be another goal for next year. So I'm just gonna keep piling those ideas on, and it's gonna take, like Angie and I spoke about it, and she's like, you're looking at like a 2-3 year plan. You can't just expect that we're gonna do it, even though I do. But
I slowed her down a little.
yeah.
It sounds like she's.
So next, can you put me to that next slide, on to my next crazy? So my next crazy is our day of service, which I'm not the only crazy person. So before I start this, some of you may have seen this or not, and it would have been something I would have put in, but I know I only have 5 minutes. There's this video of a person at like a music festival dancing by themselves. And then someone joins, and everyone's like, what? What? And they still look like the crazy person dancing on the hill. Right now I have 4 other people dancing with me, and I'm hoping that in the following years I gather more. But we're planning a day of service in May where we've already gotten a grant from the foundation, and the PTO is supporting us, and the library is giving us box tops, and every child will have a spirit shirt for the day. And in my ideal world, the kids are gonna pick the projects, and there's so many different things. Like one classroom could be the PR classroom, and they reach out to the Free Press and Ithaca Journal, and they do videos that we could put. But this year, I think teachers need to like put a toe in. One of the fourth grade, one of the grades actually drew a picture of them putting a toe in. And Joe has been helpful in saying, we can help you. So the idea is that a grade level or a classroom picks something that they want to do around our campus. And on that day, whether it's a half hour or it's an hour or whatever that teacher is willing to bite off, every classroom in our elementary school does something to improve our school. So it could be, we say, Joe, we need a pile of mulch, and they spread mulch. It could be, our class is going to take on writing thank you notes. It could be, our class is going to ask for parent volunteer. Like, to me, like the opportunities of different things you could do are endless, but this is going to be our first year of it. It also attaches to community counts. So this year is going to be our first year. And we're all going to dip a toe, but I think the life skills that can go with it are just, sorry about my hands, are just, there are so many different things. You could have kids out there interviewing and writing reports, and there's so many different things you could do with it. I think we just need to have a first year of getting everyone on board, and then, bump it out. And 3-year plan, right? 3-year plan. You're telling me I need a 3-year plan on everything.
The date, Whitney, is
May 22nd.
I was gonna say,
22nd, in case you want to.
22nd.
Yeah.
And it ties into project-based learning, which is, a district-wide initiative, similar conversations are happening in other buildings.
Yeah.
It's certainly like part of the momentum that's building in the district that I agree, we're just kind of dipping our toe in.
And
right
our
now.
feedback that I got from our last meeting was some teachers were like, we'll do this, that, the other thing. I mean, think about it, you could have a project coordinator. One class could just be project coordinators for the day. Like, it's one day, like what a life skill. So but not everyone's quite there yet, and that's okay. We will get there. So that actually kind of turns into the project Lead the Way, which
Next slide.
oh, not the project, sorry, you can skip over that, because I already just went through that. The PBL, almost every grade level in our building has done a PBL, and all of those have been connected to social studies. And having the day of service completely connects to our social studies. There is a community standard at every grade level. So that's kind of where I'm hoping we're headed. Questions?
Yeah, that's marvelous. That's really exciting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me see.
You're gonna navigate for me, Tina?
I think you can do it from there. You can do it from there.
All right. Awesome. Well, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you to the board and thank you for the administration for having us, give us this opportunity to share with you a little bit about our program. Rather than just go through this slide by side, I thought I would just highlight some of the things I felt were necessary to draw your attention to. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So the 7-12 department, as far as social studies is concerned, we are currently meeting all of our state requirements. In 7th and 8th grade, there are no state assessments of any sort any longer. So it's U.S. history, again, split in half in those grades. And then, of course, when students get to high school, as you can see, let me advance this a little bit, in 11th grade, they get U.S. history again. And this time they take 1492 to the present, and they take the Regents exam at the end of the year. 9th and 10th grade are split. It's world history, and you can see that Larry Glanton teaches half of it, and I teach the other half. And again, the Regents that, for those two classes, is in 10th grade. And right now, that seems to be the focus of where our attention is going to be, because New York State is in the process of going through and giving all these state assessments, or at least the global one. I know the U.S. history is coming, but it's not quite here yet. They're giving them a makeover, as I call it. So those assessments and those changes are going to be very, very soon. If you look on this slide, I guess I put that a little farther in the slideshow. This gives you an approximate time frame for when the transition is taking place. So the big goal for those of us that are teaching global is how are we going to accommodate this transition while yet essentially staying on the course that we need to be on until we can get there. And we have limited information, and this is, as far as I know, this is as up to date as we could get. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of conversations, and that's been really the focus of our department meetings this year and such, is trying to figure out how we're going to implement this change, because the big change here is that the new exam is only going to cover 10th grade material instead of 9th and 10th grade material. Because right now we spend roughly 4 weeks at the end of the sophomore year reviewing all of 9th grade and reviewing all of 10th and then taking the exam. But as we move into the future, that's going to change, because it's only going to be from 1750, which is the date the state has designated, forward. It's going to be tested out. The current exam format, you can see there's 3 parts. There's 2 big essays. I tell students there's more writing on the social studies Regents exams right now than there is on the ELA, which is true. 2 full essays plus anywhere from 12 to 14 what we call scaffolding questions based on documents. But you can see they're going to be changing that. They're going to be having short answer constructed response questions, and they're also going to have what they call an extended essay. I've actually seen very little of what those questions are going to look like. There are a few samples online, but quite frankly, there's not a lot to work with. So I'm hoping the state is going to at least give us some of that stuff as we look into the future. But that is going to be the big area of our focus, at least for the high school, is to focus on how we're going to make this transition smooth amongst our students. But yeah, and then the U.S. history will obviously follow on its heels. And I can tell you, as the person who teaches AP US History and AP Government, a lot of how I'm seeing, the College Board redesigned a lot of their AP courses, and they're actually in the process still. A lot of what I'm seeing that is in the AP material, at least the format, is what we're seeing, or going to be seeing on the Regents, as far as extended essay and short answer constructed responses based on documents or political cartoons or whatever. So that's the big change that we're facing, and something that we're having to look at. As far as some of our accomplishments, let me go back. We are, I guess, technological pioneers in our department. We did a survey. I'm part of the group that is looking at technology use in the building, and when we're meeting on superintendent's conference days, we conducted a survey in November. We found that 65%, almost 66% of students said that they use technology the most in their social studies classes. So we found that very interesting and very exciting at the same time. We do use our iPads regularly in the high school. I mean, every student has them. Whether they always bring them is another story, but they are supposed to have them. And in the middle school, they are using Chromebooks. They don't. Cara and John tell me that they have class sets that they use. They try to get into the computer labs, but again, there's sometimes some conflict there, as there's only so many PCs and a lot of teachers who want to use the computer labs. We're all up online. I know that us in the high school, we're using Edmodo regularly. We post assignments, we communicate with students, post links or other things there for students to access readily. And it's a great place. I'm an organization freak, so it's a nice place to have. You put all your things in folders. You can have students go to those folders. They can bring up the documents and read them on their iPad, so it's a big paper saver too. So that's really, really nice. The only thing is, you have a lot of students who actually like to highlight, who like to make notes and like to read, and that can be difficult to actually do that on an electronic device, but it is a great way to communicate with students for sure. It's a great way to keep them connected. I know for me, I have my schedule and my boards, and I take a picture of it and I put it on Edmodo, so when they get home at night, they're like, oh, I don't remember what the homework is. They have it, they can look at it pretty quickly. While we're good with technology, it's also a challenge for us. We have struggled without having a technology specialist available weekly in the building this year. In the past, there was somebody who would come in and say, I'd be available at this time, and we could go to them pretty easily, and we could say, I need help with this, and we don't have that person anymore. So that's been a bit of a transition for us. The Wi-Fi is spotty. My room, which is 317 over here, some of my students here, they can attest to this fact, can be a little sketchy, and sometimes it goes completely down. I email Mike Pliss, he reboots the access point, and it works for a while, a couple weeks, then it goes down again. It can be very frustrating, especially when you come in, you have a lesson all planned, and it's technology-based, and you don't have paper copies, and oh, what do I do? So you kind of have to improvise. So we've learned to improvise. Knock on wood, it's been very reliable in the last couple weeks, which is great. The iPads. There's been a lot of discussion amongst our building about, should we keep iPads, should we go to Chromebooks, what should we do? We know that the iPads, which we have received in 2013, are becoming dated. I know a lot of the apps that I have will no longer update. We can't get updates to the new operating system, so that leads sometimes to crashes and other things, slow working things. But the Chromebooks, we believe, at least in the social studies department, would be a lot more helpful. They could use it to type essays, and it would be better suited for working and actually typing things. Students get pretty frustrated. It's pretty hard to type an essay on an iPad.
And everything they need's in the cloud.
Yeah.
Everything's they need's in the cloud. They don't carry anything with them.
That is, yeah.
So that makes the device sort of, you can make it little,
Yeah.
but the keyboard's an essential component.
Yes, you need the keyboards to be able to type.
Because even the iPads, Larry, are yay big, right?
Yep,
They're
they're
not the
about-
full size.
They're about like that,
they're the
yeah.
minis, right?
And a lot of students have actually abandoned their iPads and they're using their phones because they're more up to date and they can run all the things that they want to run, or it's easier for them to check on it, or so forth. The other two things that we have, at least for social studies, is we have been struggling with trying to find representation in 5 and 6 in our pre-K through 12 department meetings. Whitney spoke to this a little bit already. 6th grade is a humanities course, so we're struggling to know what's exactly being taught in the 6th grade, because students don't get a full period of social studies until they hit 7th grade. So we don't know, what exactly is being taught, what subjects. It's just a matter of sitting down and having a conversation. I think that's ongoing. And then of course the last thing I'll mention here is we do feel left out at times when everybody's talking STEM and everybody leaves out social studies and English and all those other subjects. And I think now more than ever that we need to keep students informed, especially how our government institutions work, current issues and all of that kind of thing, because quite frankly, they gotta have the facts to think critically about things, and it's important that we'd be supported and be helpful. But just at times it feels like, well, okay, we're not part of STEM, so we're not important. It's hard, I guess. We feel left out. We feel like we're the orphan child, I guess, at times.
We think you're important.
But other than that,
But
I don't-
regions keep you in the game. I mean, art and music, right, struggle with this as well, right? I mean, to a certain extent, some of the creative things fall outside of that. So, yeah, I mean,
up until the last year, we had 2 of the required regions to graduate. Now students can sub one out and sub a different one in, but we had, of the 5, we had 2, which was global and US, but now only one of which is required, as students can kind of swap and sub them out. But, other than that, we just wanted to extend this invitation too. We all want you to come in sometime, get some time, come in our classrooms, see what we do. We do use a lot of technology. We do a lot of what we think are cool things, and sometimes they work out well, sometimes not so well, and we learn from it and we get better, hopefully, after that. But anyway, so if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to entertain them. I just thought I would highlight some of the things rather than go through slide by slide in line.
So can you tell me, how are the coordinators split up now? Is it, you said that there's someone different representing middle school, that 5-8 range, or is it still?
We now have a 5th grade rep.
We have a 5th grade rep.
But the problem was for the last few years, my middle school rep was either, oh my goodness, Laura DeSantis or, is it Miguel? And both of them were chairs of their own committees. So when we had meetings, because of the way our schedule was, they never came because they were running their own meeting. So we didn't have anyone for several years once it went to the humanities.
So what's the plan? What's the plan for representing the middle school?
Well, we now have someone for 5th grade. 6th grade, though, if they're still running it as the humanities, there has to be someone who's actually available to come.
Because my understanding that the social studies at the 6th grade level is taught by a bunch of different teachers.
it's opposite math.
Yeah.
Right, so when we have department meetings, like Whitney's saying, you have this person that needs to go to either English or math or whatever, it's hard to get.
And we lose.
And it's hard to get somebody into the social studies department to give us, I know in 712 go ahead, sorry.
They go to math or they go to ELA.
But not
Right.
social studies.
Or I can understand where if they are teaching humanities with that cohort, it's important that they're a part of that meeting versus coming to a K-4 meeting where we're talking about things at each grade level. Meanwhile, they're essentially co-teaching with that team. So I understand why they have to be there, but we don't have a clear picture. Like, I don't know where they are in their matrix, and we are like killing the matrix, which I took that directive a couple of years ago, or 2 years ago, when he joined our team and just ran with it.
Yeah.
And I took that as like a nice directive to give us some vision and some guidance, but I have no idea where they are at it because there's not a person who's in charge of it at those grade levels.
So certainly that's a goal when looking at our vertical alignment of social studies, one that we're working on, and part of that is bound by the meeting schedule too. We've kind of alluded to that. So because the department meetings are set at a certain day after school, because of all the other meetings, we could go on and on, that you do have that. Teachers are torn between which department meetings. So there's things internally that we're looking at to work on both that vertical alignment and meeting schedule flexibility. I think both of those are equally playing into it.
Is this a funded position to represent a department at these meetings?
They're program coordinators.
So they're,
For the,
So do
the
we have-
coordinators,
We have
but,
two.
but it's
Yeah,
part of
they're
the
the
contract thing to come to.
You're the coordinators.
and that's the only funding.
But what you're hearing about is another flavor at the 6th grade that the program coordinator
Position doesn't exist.
really address.
No.
It does, so
They,
in 5th and 6th grade, we have block ELA, we have block math. And that, so you have double periods of that. The way they've aligned it is that one of those block periods every other day, so either 2 or 3 times a week, you have your humanities opposite your math class, your social studies
taught
class.
by the same person that
Taught
is
by
teaching the
your-
math.
Yeah.
hence the Laura DeSantis is.
Who is
Bill
the-
too, Bill's a
Yeah, and
science
Bill's
guy.
the science rep. So we don't have a social studies person in 5th grade. We don't have it's not departmentalized in that context, like you do in 7 and 8.
Still elementary.
And the grade level reps are not funded, the program coordinators are funded.
Right, so there's 2 program coordinators, the pre-K 6 and then the 7.
So like for us in K-4, like like, let's say we have like our co-teachers, we have like 4 or 5 regular classroom teachers and a co-teacher. Each one of us is assigned to a different department. So like I happen to be the rep for social studies, so obviously I take that one, but like my other colleagues, one is science, one is math. I think right now this year we have 2 that are on ELA. And that's just part of like what, we have meetings once a month.
I guess there's a part of me that's just wondering, I mean, it's not like it's a secret, right? We tell each other what we teach in these grades, right?
And
We're
we
not
make-
keeping it secret, so you know the stuff they're covering. So I
In
guess
general.
in general, right?
Right.
So then you just need sort of, can't they just shoot you a, hey, we're this far and we're doing, isn't there like a simple way we can, I mean,
Well, that
I don't even
brings
know
us
why
back
I'm,
to-
this is so stupid for me, seem to be saying
Well,
this.
that kind of goes back to like completing a matrix, which I think was something that we've talked about for the last 2 years or so. That if we have a matrix, like that matrix would be something that someone moves into 2nd grade and I hand them this document and they know this is about what I'm doing in September, this is about what I'm doing in January, this is what. And so I think that matrix allows us to kind of have that communication. I think we now need to look, like it was one of the things I spoke to earlier, look at that matrix vertically. Like now that we have them kind of by grade level, now we need to look and see like, where's our overlap? Where is the same topic coming back over and over again? And what topic are we completely missing or stepping over? So I think that's kind of like the next step. But first you have to, in my brain, you have to like build that solid foundation in a solid matrix that's not what we would ideally like to do, but like what we're actually doing. Like let's be honest about what we're actually doing and then look at it vertically. And I think because that takes time, we're still working through that part, but I think we're getting, I don't know, at least I feel like in our building, we're like getting really close to looking at it vertically now that we've kind of weeded out exactly what we're actually doing and how that aligns with the curriculum that we have adopted and some of the programs we've adopted, at least in our building. I can't speak to, you guys have different testing and such, but we, over the last couple of years with all the new Common Core, have adopted different programs that have social studies aspects. But then when you go back and look at the standards, they're not actually aligned. And so we've started to kind of try to weed out what's aligned and what's not aligned, and now we've got to go, instead of side to side, we've got to start going up
So-
and down.
What is your matrix is through grade 4, correct?
Yes,
And so
I have one for
I know
everyone.
I was there when Josh introduced the concept of working on the matrix at the middle school, so the middle school is their matrix for those 5th and 6th grade. It must have social studies standards someplace, maybe off to the edge, but they're there.
No, they have
correct?
their own.
Yeah.
it's
They're right there.
So we have for every class in the middle school.
So,
so we just need to start going up and
so I
down.
think if, the more we start sharing the completed matrix or the nearly completed matrix with the high school, then I think they would see.
And I said to Angie, I would love it if there would be a way that we could put on Google Docs where everyone, remember we talked about this and I never followed up, that you could upload, that there could be a folder for the matrix, like K-12, and everyone for social
Vaguely,
studies.
you throw a lot of ideas out.
I know, I'm sorry.
I'm digging for it.
But that would be so neat to have,
Yeah.
like on Google Docs, where you could go into social studies or science or wherever. I mean, and not that parents like would want that, but just that you could have, I could go in and look at curriculum for a 1st grade class, and I could go and I could click on science, click on social, like if there was a way it could be attached to the portal. I'm sorry, I'm getting out of control.
Well, I think what we want to do is go back to answer Sarah's question.
Okay,
And
sorry.
there's about 3 or 4 different aspects to it. Part of it is, well, there is.
Sorry,
Part of it I
But I
know,
think-
I think it's
You know
important
me.
to know for middle school parents out there, for them to really know, they see social studies on the report card, so you know, something's happening. So I think it's great to have representation on a coordinator level for the district, so that it's all connected, it's all on a chart.
And it fosters that essential communication piece, you know, when teachers are communicating, you know, I think things run a lot smoother and go a lot better. And it's not just about topics, you know, it's about skills even, you know, I mean, what skills are the students learning in 5th and 6th grade that we can then take and build on as they get to 7th, 8th, and all the way up through their senior year, you know, is it reading maps, is it interpreting a document, is it interpreting a political cartoon, reading a passage, you know, all different kinds of things.
And that's what's great about how the matrix is set up, that it's units, and then it's skills, it's assessments, it has all those columns. And it's short and sweet.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Given the amount of the emphasis being placed on writing and through regions, how early do you begin to develop those?
Well, I know when I get my 10th graders, because this is that's the first grade I teach, we introduce writing almost on day one, and they're constantly writing. I mean, they just took a midterm a few weeks ago, and they did a full-fledged sample. We actually work on, the first half of the year, at least in my 10th grade classes, I work on pieces, because part of the Region score goes into organization of your writing, so we teach them how to do that. It's important too in that rubric that they develop all aspects of the task. So some of these thematic essays have 2 or 3 things that are required for students to do. So what I spend the first half of the year doing is breaking it down and saying, okay, how am I going to make sure I answer all parts of this question? I teach the students the importance of organizing, making graphic organizers a lot, and then by the time we usually get to November, December, we're working on writing larger and larger pieces, and then in January they do their full-fledged first thematic essay, at least with me. I know Mr. Glanton, when he does 9th grade, essentially does a lot of the same thing with the writing process. So,
Does any of that begin in earlier grades?
I would say, so we do a lot of the Lucy Calkins, which is wonderful and a great way to like inspire kids with writing. But there's not as much of the graphic organizer. But I do think some of us are moving back.
More.
Yeah, I think some of us are like, I know at 2nd grade I've even started to move back because I think to myself, like if I'm gonna write something, I'm not just gonna write it, I'm gonna, you know, make a plan. So we've started to kind of move back to using more graphic organizers. But I can only speak to kind of 2nd grade. 3rd, 4th, definitely, because they have planning space on their state tests for answering, for their responses. So that's definitely, I'm sure, a deliberately taught skill.
Josh, in the 5th and 6th grade, is social studies intertwined with humanities at all, or are they totally separate?
It's intertwined with through ELA and the math. They call it the humanities, and the other twist is it. So it's teased out a little bit in both, but we don't have a standalone social studies. In 5th grade. 5th grade or 6th grade. And that's something that we've entertained, but it's where our priority lies. If it lies within keeping the 2 periods of math and 2 periods of ELA, something's got to go to put something back in. So that's always hard. People want to keep both.
So I guess my question in part is, what they're reading or writing in ELA, is that directly related to social studies?
It is. 6th grade does the overlaps between the Percy Jackson and the ancient Greeks and tie it in with the Greek culture and mythology. So it's that repeat or revisit from what they're doing in the elementary school. So that's one of those areas they can consider. They also, in 5th grade, they touch on ancient civilizations and world history. So they do a piece. They've shifted a little bit more to align their science and ELA. They do a piece on endangered species in rainforest, and they've tied that in with their Latin America component. So they try to do a lot of interdisciplinary work that's not standalone.
Percy Jackson, the fantasy writer? Yeah.
No.
Oh, wow, okay.
Good job, Larry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Moving to number 6, item B. That's you, Ms. Bell.
for this evening's purpose, in the budget forecast, we are going to focus on the instructional component. Actually, I think Josh, can you dim one light and that might make it?
Good.
Oh, you did? Okay, well, it's a little bit hard to read, but as usual, there's a lot of numbers. And I think for this evening's focus, if we look at all the category titles on the far left-hand side, we'll start with curriculum development. And then the next column to the right is 15, 16. These are not necessarily the budget numbers, but this is the actual expenditures in under each of those titles. And then again, moving further to the right, you can see 16, 17 budget. And then the final one is 17, 18 proposal. So the reason why I haven't included as of yet, I will when we get closer to presenting the final budget. It's difficult to include the 16, 17 final expenditures because we are only in February, and so sometimes those numbers tend to sway. A good example was today, Angie brought to my attention, there's a significant increase for special education just for this spring, and then another piece that'll carry into next summer. So things tend to sway quite a bit. So it's probably more reliable to look at final expenditures for 15, 16, and then what I do is I look at what we have encumbered to date and what our current expenditures are for this current fiscal, and then I look at an average of those 2 years, and sometimes if the numbers are really varying, I reach back yet another year for that historical data to look at and try to figure out what that proposed number should be for 17, 18. As I said last week, we're really looking at just moving the budget forward, a roll forward budget. Okay, hold on. There we go. We're looking at a roll forward budget with minimal increases. Most of the increases will be in the area of salary and benefits. So as we look at curriculum development, that represents the local share that we pay out for professional development. That's the $2 an hour share that we pay on top of what we budget at BOCES, which is the $25 piece for summer curriculum hours. You'll see that's dropped significantly in 16-17. That was $7,200, and we've dropped that for the proposed fiscal to $3,000. The reason being that we had separately budgeted professional development monies that would be carried out through this school year that extended beyond the grant. And at this point, we're not looking necessarily at doing that. We do have a sizable amount already budgeted at BOCES through a COSER, and we feel that we can meet that obligation through BOCES. So this local share is an insignificant amount. I've included both the change and the percent change, because if you look at the percent change, it looks pretty significant, a negative 58%, but the reality is it's only $4,200. The next line, supervision regular school, this line represents salaries, supplies, and conferences for our building administrative team. Again, you can see an insignificant change there if you go to the far right, just a 1%.
Just building administrators or deans of students also?
Just building administrators. And so when we look at that, sometimes you'll see that the percent increase, if it's a positive number, is insignificant, even though there are projected salary increases. As you know, all of our contracts and soon TLA as well will be in the process of negotiation. So if there were lines in terms of conferences or supplies or lines that it looked like we were not expending the full amount that had previously been budgeted, I took the liberty to reduce those to some degree so that again we could roll forward and keep things mostly flat. In-service training represents mentoring and reimbursement for college credits. Again, looking at that 2-year average, we have seen a slight decrease in the graduate expenses being presented to the district, and we were able to reduce that line significantly, roughly $17,000, and so that's a decrease you see there. Teaching regular school represents only a slight increase, as I was able to bring other salary lines closer to exact, as we plan to keep the current employees that are funded by grants in the grants process for again next fiscal. And then the BOCES line that is included in teaching regular school includes items like transition GED, the alternative school, the Little Lighthouse program. Moving to the next line, student with disabilities. You can see a significant decrease here if you go all the way to the far right, $136,000 decrease. In the past, this line really fluctuates probably the most throughout all of our budgetary lines. It's very unpredictable. Students move in that may or may not have significant needs, and we need to be able to provide and stand behind those financially. So again, looking at a 2 to 3 year average, it does appear like it's time that we can reduce that line. We have made a concerted effort to keep some of those students with significant disabilities in-house, which has reduced our BOCES expenses. So I feel confident that that's a good number moving forward and a significant savings to the district. Occupational education, there appears to be a significant decrease. You can see almost 42,000. However, in the past, we had occupational education scheduled in this line, and that's really a service that's provided through BOCES, so that was moved up to the line above there. So, let's see, occupational education. Next one is teaching special schools. This represents a number through BOCES where we send students to take summer school that are repeating classes if they were unsuccessful here at the high school. The next line is school library. You can see pretty insignificant, a slight increase, and that is representing mostly salary increases. Again, where there were opportunities within lines that were being underspent, I reduced those to more of a true number, a historical true number, so that we can still accommodate projected salary increases. Again, those salary increases being a bit of an unknown at this point. So keep in mind, we're looking now at 3 years of salary increases that are really unknown.
Who's included in that line, Kimberly?
In the school library, the librarians, and in some cases, some of the non-instructional staff that support the libraries as well.
Have we always broken them out? It's like they're on a teacher salary, a teacher schedule, right?
The librarians are always broken out to fall under school library. However, we also have non-instructional staff, so if we have a school monitor associated with that line, they fall there. And we also have teaching assistants that are broken out and coded to school library.
Okay, thank you.
Computer assisted instruction. This is the line where, let's see, that we just heard Larry speak of. There's an increase here due to licensing renewals for access points, and then an additional increase representing 35 new access points to expand the footprint in the instructional spaces from 69% to 88%. And that represents about a $45,000 increase. So I'm hoping some of the issues that Larry's experiencing in his classroom will be addressed through this. So, good
How
time,
about that, Larry? You asked, and there it is.
We made it happen tonight.
That's the quickest so far.
I was gonna say, 5 other departments.
That's what I was gonna say.
They got
How many
nada.
departments have been here waiting for that answer?
You cannot tell that out.
For you,
Cannot do
Larry.
that.
So Kimberly, in that line, to address another one of his issues, so refresh my memory as to what happened to the technology specialist that was in the past helping and is now no longer exists? Or
So we have a slight reduction in that budget line at this time. However, I have left some additional funding in that line. We're still talking about that as an administrative team to see how we can best meet the needs of the district, so.
Well, there's a little bit more to it. A year ago, we had, what was the? Angela, but before that.
Oh, that person.
We had Jason
Right.
for like
Mhm.
2-3 years.
yeah,
He took a different position, and then he was replaced by someone, and then we realized that we were actually paying TSD BOCES for a very similar, on paper, position, and so we said, well, that doesn't make sense, so this past year, we said, let's just have the TSD BOCES person do it. That's a different model that, obviously from Larry's comments, hasn't felt the same. So we're gonna look at something else next year, we just don't know what, because it's just woven into their model schools person, I think, so they've been available, but it's just not been the same.
Under the old system, we had an instructional technology person who was here once a week. We purchased it by the day.
Yeah.
Now it's part of that service, and they have a group of guys over at TSD BOCES that have come out and run some training for our staff. But it's more of a ask first, like you have to go to them and ask for what you want, and then they'll send somebody out to teach us,
Yeah.
as opposed to where we used to have the person who just was here, and they would go around and initiate contact with
Right.
teachers and say, hey, have you
That
thought
was
of
Jason.
trying this?
That
That
was
was what
Jason
Jason
and
Clark
then-
used.
He was
And
through
Amy.
OCM BOCES?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, it was,
So is there thought of going back to OCM BOCES?
we don't know.
We don't know.
right now. We don't know.
And I've been talking with Barry Durfel at BOCES a lot about it, because our instructional technology team has raised a lot of questions, and they've got some great ideas and things that they would like to do. And Jeremy, what's Jeremy's, I'm blanking on his name. Jeremy's the person who was our connection through that team at TSD. And he's been great in terms of being available if we ask for something. It's just that issue, you have to ask for it, you have to know, and you have to know what you want to ask for. So he has just started, I just got an email from him this week about it was late last week, about a team that they're putting together to have people from the districts going there to have sort of a monthly meeting to talk about updates, to sort of spread that reach and get more information out to teachers. So we're experimenting with some different models and approaches.
Yeah, what we thought would work just hasn't turned out. I mean, it looked like it on paper. We actually met with them,
Yeah.
said, this is what we need, and.
Well, but the good news is when you have an experience like this, you actually look back and you say, wow, that did work.
Yeah.
So if you were gonna do this again, you know what you're looking for, and then it's just a matter, as Gary would say, shopping for the services, right? And whether it's OCM, BOCES, or whatever, you know what you
GSD
like,
BOCES.
that this sort of consistent thing that works. And I think, I can tell you, the technology is changing so dramatically. I find myself at my line of work, trying to work with any student who'll come anywhere near me to teach me, oh, how do I do it on Snapchat? Oh, how do I do it this way? Oh, how do I do it that way? Oh, and then you let them loose a little bit, and the next thing you know, you have platforms built that you can educate kids from. So I think that ongoing conversation is different than a troubleshooting model, which it looks like what the TST BOCES have, right? It's a troubleshooting model. They call when something's broken.
John, do you still have students supporting technology in the high school?
No.
That was kind of
That was a 1 year,
person-driven
we
as
tried
well.
that for a year.
That was person-driven.
Yeah, we've talked about coming up with some ways to try to get back to that, because it was effective, but it was difficult to coordinate.
I think what we really need to do is work with the administrative team and get the feedback from your faculty, because we need a hybrid model. So when we had Jason on campus, there were times where weeks would pass and he was just beating us down, like, I need people. But people get caught up in there every day, they need their prep time to plan their next lesson. And so, myself included, there were many times where I thought, wow, I could use help with building that webpage for the business department. And of course, I can't make it happen because life goes on and I still need to trudge through the everyday work. And so I think that was some of the feedback that we had gotten before. And then this model at TST BOCES is more of, if individuals go to professional development training and they have questions after that, then we can pull that individual back, where I don't necessarily think, because we have so many one-on-one devices and there's flipped classrooms and such, I don't know that that's really what we're looking for is from that PD. We just have that sort of, people are taking on different initiatives and they need that individualized support, so.
One of the things that is exciting, though, is just that this team of teachers, Larry referenced it, that we have a team of teachers at the high school that have been focusing all of our conference days on instructional technology. And part of what their goal is to come up with recommendations for the building of things that we can be doing to enhance what we're doing with our instructional technology. One of the conversations that, and Larry alluded to it, is that conversation of, do we switch from the iPads to the Chromebooks, which is beginning to, that idea is beginning to build momentum among the staff about how that might shift the way we're utilizing our devices. So it's coming.
We change quick.
Yeah.
And that may lead to a different need on part of the staff for technology. Okay.
Okay, so,
We have a question?
I'm sorry, I was not aware we were allowed to speak. Sorry, I thought we were silent participants. But about the Chromebooks versus iPads, I've personally been allowed to use both in my classroom, and I really love the Chromebooks because typing an essay on an iPad.
Who is this woman?
Next to impossible.
Who is this woman?
So just from a student's perspective, I've been using the iPad since I was a freshman, and the Chromebooks being introduced to the classroom have made a huge difference. So that's just my answer.
So that conversation is happening as we speak.
Did Mr. King plant you?
I did not.
Just asking.
Okay, so
Okay, so moving along, next category in front of us is guidance. And you can see that looks like a significant increase. The change is represents approximately 113,000 or a 28% increase. Really what that represents is we added 1 FTE to the guidance department. And prior to the fiscal prior to that, we had one of our counselors funded through a grant. We have since added that person back into the general fund, and we've changed it out in the social worker, which you'll see down a little bit further, is now going to be in the grant and is currently in grant. So that's the change there. The next line, health services. You can see there's a slight decrease there. When we get to the final expenditures for 17, you will see they're slightly lower than that line that is suggested at 186,000 approximately. We have been planning for a special education need, which includes some health services here on our campus. So we'll continue to plan for that going into the future, but I was able to tighten that line just slightly. Diagnostic screening, this is a line that we just keep moving forward every year. Oftentimes we don't spend the entire 5,000. It needs to be there again. It supports our special education needs and some of those screenings that need to happen outside of our district. Psychological services, this is a line supporting all of our school psychologists. It's a very small line, it's mostly personnel, and so looking forward, it appears to be an increase, but again, keep in mind we're looking at least 3 years of salary increases in there somewhere, a couple of retro and 1 year moving forward. So what I could reduce, I did without hurting that program, and then the rest is mostly salary increases. Social work services, again, you can see this is the line, if you went back even several other fiscals, you would see that that line comes in, goes out, comes in, goes out. It depends on who's writing the grant. And again, for 17-18, that position will be grant funded, so not including it in the general fund.
So the difference between that line and the 112,000, shouldn't they be closer together if the increase in the guidance line is because we're moving that person from the grant in there?
Not necessarily, because one is a straight up 1 FTE increase and the other one was grant funded. So that represents almost 2 full increases in the guidance line.
I'm not.
Give us that again.
I'm not following that, Kimberly.
So it looked like there was a partial year. I had our treasurer look at that line more closely today because that caught my attention as well. And so there was a partial year where we had a school counselor that left didn't complete a full school year. It was here for part of a school year. So there's a small amount of that salary represented in the guidance line. The rest of it was out in a grant, and salaries are not always equal. So the guidance salary was not necessarily an equal exchange for the social work salary. That salary has since been added back into the guidance line. In addition, we are another full FTE up for a school counselor. So that's what that represents. There's 2 full positions in that line that were not previously there.
In the 112,000?
That's correct.
Okay, and that full-time is the career counselor?
Yeah.
But isn't that in the 16-17 budget, that career counselor position?
It does not appear to be there. I'm not sure why that was added after.
Okay, there's why I'm confused.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. Yep.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. So let's see, where were we? We were down to social work. We talked about that one. Director of instruction, again, insignificant change. $1,387 increase. Again, there were some lines in there, maybe an equipment line, maybe a supply line, a conference line, that were able to be slightly reduced to offset proposed salary increase for the next fiscal. So insignificant change overall. Co-curricular, again, let's see, co-curricular is reduced based on a 2-year average. So some of the change in that is based on, do we have support staff members or teachers taking those roles? Football played a big role, that's changed, that expense is a little bit hard to predict whether we're funding and complete, maybe Michael can speak to that, where that coaching line falls, or I'm sorry, that would be the next line. Co-curricular is just those other, non-sport lines.
So that's program coordinators,
Mhm. And then,
clubs, right?
yes,
It's all your clubs, program coordinators.
extra classroom,
Advisors.
treasurer, advisors. So it looks like we were able to make some slight reductions, again, overall pretty insignificant on a line of 153,000, almost 154,000. Interscholastic athletics, there was a big change there. You may recall last fiscal, there was a request to replace most or all of our uniforms. So we had moved forward a significant increase in the uniform line, and I believe we've purchased a good share of those. There's still some money residing in that budgetary line that I believe our athletic director is planning to spend down before the end of this fiscal. But I have taken the liberty to reduce that line going forward. If we have mostly all new uniforms, we won't need to continue to have that much in that budgetary line.
Well, recycling anyway, right? Some increases, right? They're gonna get replaced more frequently, isn't it?
Pushing down, but it was kind of like a big.
Big hump to get
Big
over right
to get
from the
over right to
beginning,
get
right? Now we're on a
started.
replacement cycle.
Correct. And then that brings us to the last line for total instructional, and you can see in 15-16, that was $11.7 million. Last current fiscal is 13.2, and moving forward, at this point, that line appears to be 13.1. So overall, we were able to reduce in sum total 100,000, or just under 1%, representing all of instruction, and that does include salary increases. So keeping where we said we'd hope to be rolling forward. We were able to do that because I have been planning for salary increases and keeping those lines inflated in hopes that we settle these contracts.
All of these lines show like health services and psychological services and director of instruction and all that. They're a combination of supplies and salary increases and everything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's true. Mm-hmm. Conference, supplies, salaries, where appropriate, equipment. For the most part, all of those lines will have those items. And then on March 6th, we'll be talking about operations and maintenance, transportation, and general support. And that will really wrap up the majority of the budget as presented. Michael and I will continue to meet with the administrative team as we finalize these numbers to see where we stand in comparison to the revenue stream. And we've asked our administrators to prioritize some of their wishes for what they feel they need to improve program in each of their buildings. So we'll be bringing that to you on March 6th, where we feel our prioritized list stands at that point.
Will this transportation budget begin to reflect any of the consultants and recommendations and your responses to that?
Yep.
Will you make sure when you do that, you sort of highlight those things, right? Because that's good to see it sort of in reality make its way to the budget, because that was a pretty extensive report, and your response to it was really thorough and I thought exhaustive as well. So hopefully we're going to see that. Some of those things look pretty good, right?
Oh,
Low-hanging fruit, maybe?
yeah.
Yeah.
Kimberly, based on your comment, I'm sort of interpreting that as that conversation of what the building administrator's needs hasn't happened yet, or?
It's ongoing. I mean, we've got a list, I was gonna add that we've kept track of all the curriculum presentations, so that, I think you can remember all through the fall and since, there's been several requests for additional staffing, so they're in the list. Josh has identified some things, or I guess some challenges. They've each identified challenges, so we're working our way through that list. We spent some time on it today, and we didn't get it done today.
But I
So
think
we'll
we
bring
also.
it back. You'll know what and why for everything that we think we've been asked for, as well as internally, and part of it will be like, do we have funding to add two full positions or not? We just don't know yet.
And part of the reason for that is we have salary negotiations going on up here. So depending on where we land with those, if all the items go into play, then that would reduce the additional money over here to add staff. We did have the tax cap levy calculation conversation last week, so we know what that amount is. We know what the increase is in health insurance, and we know what TRS and ERS are. So, we're very close to that final picture of knowing what all of our expenses are up against that revenue stream. And then we just have a few unknowns. If we were to settle 2 of the contracts that are out there, that could mean a sway of $100,000 or $200,000, which would change those additional items that maybe the administrative team had prioritized and said, we'd really like to add X. But if the salary negotiations settle a certain way, then we may be able to do that, and if they don't, if they go a different way, then that would go into negotiation settlements instead. So that's why we don't have a solid answer at this point.
So there's some discussion of potentially adding staff, because we've obviously heard that in all those areas. But the revenue stream that we saw last meeting was pretty flat from last year, so there's no big pot of money coming in.
True. However, I have factored salary increases within these lines, and I have been factoring that in. So each year that's been there for the past couple of years. So these salary increases are not going to wipe out the increase that we're getting on the levy. Health insurance is chewing up most of that.
Big chunk, 200 out of 265.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would equate to less than one position.
Potentially.
Right.
But keep in mind, there is flexibility within those lines. So like I said, last year, we really increased the line for uniforms. Well, I've significantly reduced that because that was a one-time expense that year, so we were able to reduce it. We had some expenses in terms of the concession stand through contractual, through supplies. Those will also be brought back down. Electricity does not seem to be going higher. Instead, it's staying low, and now I have a couple of years of outages to compare, and so we're likely going to be able to reduce that line. So through all those lines and those changes, like I said, special education, we've been overstating by at least 200,000, and it appears now, after looking at 3 years, it looks like it's time to reduce that. We don't necessarily need to keep that high. Fingers crossed, Angie.
Oh, you just read.
So, although today she just said here's a $60,000 increase.
Yeah.
So it can evaporate pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's all those pieces that come into play that when we get done, I can say to the administrative team, okay, what's your one prioritized need? Is everybody in agreement, and how does that work across the district? How does that benefit everyone? Or is there one in a particular building that we feel strongly about that has to happen? And, depending on where salary negotiations end and what I have budgeted for the last 2 or 3 years, is there additional money there, or is that exactly where it should be? And so that's where the play is that we can't say for certain yet.
Okay.
I think you can just, I think you'll agree with me that between the curriculum presentations and the request for staff there, and then from some identified need at the middle school and the high school, there's no way we can do it all, so.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the priorities and we have the board goals right next to it, so it's the work.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Thank you, ma'am. You're welcome. Okay. Moving on to number 7, I don't believe we have any particular correspondence for this evening, and that brings us to committee reports. Beginning with the policy committee, on which I believe there are 2. One is the first reading, and the other is the second reading. The first one we're talking about is use of Title I funds for parent and family engagement. So, Michael, do you want to address that?
Yeah, I will address it. It's basically an update where it used to say parents, now it says parents and family and engagement. The word engagement's there, and family and community are been added to much of the language. What I took I don't know if you had the time, because it's crazy to read those marked, but if you're really curious, that's what they look like. Those marked versions of policy that I sent you over the weekend. What I added in what we're asking you to adopt or approve in first reading tonight is some of the areas, the broad areas where Trumansburg does engage our parents through curriculum nights, through site-based decision-making, open houses. Josh had a math thing on a Saturday afternoon at his school recently. So it's just a few of those things that identify how we address the bringing our community families and engaging them more. So it's what we do already.
We've had a long history of doing that.
Yeah,
Even during the
it's not too
original Common Core thing, you guys were holding sessions with that
Yep.
woman teaching parents how to train their kids, how to help them with math. Remember that mess?
Sarah presented.
Training. Well, as you can see from these copies of what was changed or whatever, this has taken us a while to be able to sort of get to the point where we assume at this point it reflects pretty much what we do. So any comments from the commissioners? Have a motion to accept what this is the first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or any abstentions? Okay, then moving on to the second reading, and this would be for graduation requirements. And I think Michael also provided you a copy of where the changes were made, because Kelly, I know that you had some concerns about it as well. So did you get, I need a motion to
So moved.
add a second.
Second.
Okay, now we're into discussion. Did you get a chance to see where we had made some of the changes
Yes.
to hopefully address your concerns?
Yeah. I think a real theme of the conversation since the first reading, since the board saw this, is to make sure that accelerated and advanced opportunities are available to our students, and yet there are some criteria that the staff in each building develop.
So parameters that I have
Yeah.
actually.
So I think it's finding that balance, that it's really, we're supporting and encouraging, and yet there are some standards, some criteria for taking those classes. And I think it's balanced out. I know Josh, the last kind of piece to fall in place was Josh met with his team, I think it was last week, and reviewed the language. Really, it ended up being on, it's the blue language on the top of page 3, basically. It starts with the words middle school students. So, and there are some other changes that we talked, it's been quite a while. We talked about advanced placement, and kind of a little change in philosophy there, and then ending that section with that we want to make sure our students are aware of all the financial aid that's available towards helping them defray or take care of the cost of taking the AP exams.
Okay, this has taken us a fair amount of time to be able to sort of coordinate everyone and take a look at it and be very thoughtful and intentional about it. So, is there any reason why we would not consider to accept it tonight rather than just accept it as first reading?
It's a second reading,
It's a
so
second.
Oh, I'm
maybe we're
sorry.
accepting it or we're rejecting it.
I'm confused.
You're there.
We're there.
We're there.
I withdraw
We're
this
right.
last comment. Good, you've already done that, excellent. Okay, so any other questions, comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or any abstentions?
Do we have data on the number of students that graduate with all these Regents diplomas with honors, advanced designation? Do we have that
I
data?
sent the link to you this
Did you?
weekend. If you scroll down in that link
Oh, you'd
about
see
the
it?
recently released graduation, there, it's right there.
It's in
But
there,
I know
okay with that.
John
okay.
probably has it at.
I just thought it was a general
How many
notice.
students graduate with advanced designation, those
Oh,
kinds of
gosh.
things. It's in that link, though.
It is, okay, so
Right now.
that's, that's good enough for me.
94% graduated, and then we have,
Yeah.
I don't even want to take a
Yeah.
guess, because I
Yeah,
might
yeah,
be
no,
wrong.
I'm sorry, I just assumed that was just another reiteration of the 94%, I didn't know
Yeah.
it was gonna drill in.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It
That's
drills
all I
in as
know.
you go
That's
down,
good, perfect.
males, females, there's quite a bit
I'm
of
sorry, I
data if you
missed
scroll
that.
down on that link. And the 94% is certainly something we're celebrating, and then John was mentioning that, based on January regents, I'm thinking it's gonna go up a little, maybe 95,
Yeah, we had-
96, I don't know.
We had some really good success with our January Regents exams, and some seniors that we were really worried about, but have worked their tails off and earned it. So, very exciting.
So we're way into the 90s, way.
The 94%, John, includes August exams?
Yes. That is the 4-year graduation rate, so that factors in August as well.
So did any of those students that didn't make it return this year, even though they wouldn't technically?
Not right now.
Okay.
And I think
So
the
how many
definitions are right at the top. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Carrie.
When you
Definitions
look
are
on
right at
that,
the top.
on the data page for New York State, it'll show you that we had 2 students who also earned a GED and 2 students that didn't graduate.
Okay, so that's what.
And I know exactly who they are, I know exactly why, and
Kid by kid, do that.
Yep.
Yeah. And GED does not count towards our graduation?
No.
Okay, understand the food service committee
They did not.
got snowed
They did
out.
not meet. There were just like some road things going on.
And, yeah,
It didn't happen.
Watching the transport lunch from one building to the next was interesting to say the least.
Even policy was sort of
Yeah.
staggered arrival.
and some of us didn't make it.
Hang
Okay, moving on to the administrator's report. Angie, I think it's your turn.
The blueprint special.
Yes, so, that's a blue plate.
The blueprints were.
Blueprint work, so, all districts across the state, there's been a push from state ed, to do a couple of things, and it's not just for special ed, it's for all kids, but to, increase our access to inclusion. So there is a real push from state ed to look at our kids with disabilities and our kids that are in general ed, and really making sure that they are intermingling and getting educated in the same environment and held to the same standards. We're also looking at the quality of that inclusion, so that's where that same standard. So not only are students in the same classrooms, but are they working to the same standards? State also has a desire, as always, to increase state test scores. So that's kind of where this came from. State has created what they call a blueprint for special education, really extending that, like I said, to all students. So every district in the state is working, looking at this blueprint, meeting internally to talk about it and how they can improve. TST, or BOCES, has done a wonderful job at bringing all the districts together. We're also working with a state ed consultant to work on this blueprint. So each district we met in January, we plan to meet again in March, and then from what I'm hearing, it's probably gonna be a 2-year process to really look at the blueprint and roll it out. Teams from each district include kindergarten all the way to 12. We have gen ed teachers, we have special ed teachers, the whole administrative team, all of our school psychologists met together to take a look at, what do we think we're doing well that's on this list of suggested best practices? Where do we need to improve? We're going back in March to look at that again and then make a plan to really do that improvement. I can tell you that, and please jump in, building principals, the goals for each building. The elementary has really decided to look at continuing our success with co-teaching. We have a very strong co-teaching model at the elementary, but really looking at that differentiation and what we're doing within co-teaching. Middle school is taking a look at strengthening even more the tier 1, the just first base instruction that they're doing for all students. And high school, I'm very excited to say, is hoping to create an RTI team to really look at the leveled interventions at high school. So that's sort of like the initial areas that we targeted. We're going back with that entire team, again, to talk about it and start to make a plan.
Yeah. To be continued. March 21st, did you mention that? That's our
March
next
10th.
big, spending a day together at BOCES, taking the deep dive.
Any questions? Comments? Okay. Item 10 is I need a motion to adjourn to an executive session.
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
Will you please bring this document with the highlighted things?
Yes.
So we can.
I think the one you sent to, the one you
Oh,
sent
you sent it
today.
to us today, right?
It was actually read at your.
Oh, tables.
And it was sent to you.
In here, I'm not sure I have it.
No, I have, that's what he's talking about.